Now, he's been working away all morning, giving a bike a bit of TLC. Haven't you, Jason?
Very well, thank you very much.
Yeah, he's done a good job in it, to be fair. There was much work in it, Jason.
Yeah, not too much, but got it working perfectly.
Oh, there we go.
It's ready to ride again.
You're here for a very good reason, because this is a brilliant story. He's worked his way up to be an assistant manager of Exo Bikes. It's a charity-owned business that has trained him and other former prisoners, as Jason is, to work as bike mechanics. It's just a brilliant story, isn't it?
Oh, it's just so fantastic. So joining Jason, we've got the founder of Exo Bikes, Stef Jones, alongside our criminologist, David Wilson, who we know very well. So good morning to all of you.
Morning. I have a problem with Stef because he looks like Jimmy Nesbitt. And that's all
There's no coming back from that.
Did you get that a lot?
I will now.
You do look a bit like James Nesbitt, yeah. So how did this all start, Stef?
About 3 years ago, about 5 years ago, I started volunteering in Brixton Prison.
Yep.
On a Sunday and then on a Wednesday afternoon, mentoring young guys that wanted to start businesses when they left. And before long, I started seeing a few familiar faces that I'd sort of waved off. They weren't coming back. I believed it, they believed it. But there they were, again. And why are you back? And there were the odd stupid licence breach, but generally it's because no one would give them the job.
Yeah.
And I looked into it, and sure enough, the cycle of reoffending traps about half the guys being released. And I thought, OK, if no one else is going to give you a job, I'll give you a job. But I didn't have any jobs to give them. So I had to give up my ad agency, start the charity. The purpose of the charity is we start ventures to train and employ guys. And the first one is Exo Bikes.
Yep.
And we want them all to be small, beautiful and loud. Small because we don't want to run a big business. Beautiful because they've got to be. I want people to see how beautiful he is and how beautiful the product is. Well, we know he's beautiful. And loud, and here we are, because there's no point doing it unless we change public attitudes and employers' behaviour. That's the key.
Fantastic idea, isn't it?
It's brilliant. On a practical level, how does it work? How do you get people on?
So the guys, well, hopefully there are guys watching out there now that are, behind the doors. They'll see this, like happened to Jason. They'll get in touch, and they'll come and join the course in Lewisham. It's for 8 people at a time, every 2 months. It's a 6-week course. And at the end of it, if they can get gold or silver, then they can go on and work in a Halfords or a Fettle or wherever. And some of the guys stay with us. So they get more on the job sort of development, really. And then some, like one of the lads is now a bookkeeper as well as mechanic. One's deputy head trainer as well as a mechanic. You've got your own progression, haven't you?
Yeah, 100%. What can I say? I was sitting in my cell in Thameside. I was watching the news. I saw this great venture about Exo Bikes, and I thought, that moment there, I'm going to take this opportunity and change my life. So I called my fiancée and asked her to get in contact. When I was released, I had a week to myself, and it was straight into the course. Lovely bunch of people, loads of support in multiple areas, whether it's housing, mental health, you name it, Exo Bikes doing it. I then did my course.
Yep.
I finished, graduated with a gold. After that, I worked with Vettel for 2 days, Vettel/Quick Fit, and did 3 days at Exo Bikes. And then afterwards, I must have been doing a great job. Exo Bikes asked me to come back to be assistant manager, and I accepted because I love the job and I love what Exo Bikes about. And just to anybody watching, any prisoners, people that have just left prison, just make the call. If you want to get on the right path and you want to get into employment and stop not being part of society, Exo Bikes is the right place to come.
Honestly, Jason, I think it's just such an inspirational story, and it's a very positive way of turning something that was negative into a positive, because
100%.
we all deserve a second chance and we all deserve a chance at a job. David, have you seen that this is a scheme that could actually see a lot of success, especially when it comes to the reoffending cycle?
Oh, absolutely. But first, congratulations to them both. It's a wonderful story you're telling. Look, if facts and figures are going to cut through some of this personal story, reoffending by released prisoners costs the state per annum £17 billion a year. So think about what we could do with that 17 billion, investing in schools, in our NHS, whatever it might be. 17 billion pounds if we don't tackle what's called recidivism. People like Jason who come out of jail and commit further offences. So that's the cost. And 1 out of 2 people will commit further offences, but if they're employed, you reduce that number down to 1 in 5 people will commit further offences. And what we say, we call this in criminology desistance. How do we help people like Jason desist from committing crime? And there's the 3-stage process. The first is behaviour. You've got to want to stop reoffending. The second is identity, and you heard Jason refer to that. You're no longer thinking of yourself as an offender, you're thinking of yourself as the assistant manager, as a mechanic. And finally, you have to have a sense of belonging. You belong in a community that values the work that you do. Now, that's incredibly difficult to achieve, and that's why Exo Bikes has been such a success.
And Jason, you mentioned it early on there, you knew when you got out of prison, you had a week, and then you were into something, you had something to look forward to. So just take it to the prison system when you're in there. If it wasn't for Exo Bikes, how much conversation is there about what you will do when you leave?
I'll be quite honest with you, there's not a lot of support. There's a lot of lads that do want to get back into work, but obviously, if you think you're just going to get slammed that when you get to the door, obviously you're not going to go for it. I'll be honest, it was very hard getting any support, whether it was housing, work, training courses, there was absolutely nothing.
So there's no kind of career guidance, post-prison career guidance when you're in
5 months just wasting, just wasted.
Yeah.
So lucky for me, I saw the news channel and I was watching Exo Bike.
Give us an idea what it was like when you were in your prison cell, but you knew when you left you had something to go to. What does that do to a human being?
It was a great feeling. Yeah. It was a very warm feeling, knowing that I wasn't going to go out and then just be in the cold and possibly reoffend again. You know what I mean? It's been 18 months, and I knew from that minute I'd made my mind up and I'd changed, and I wanted to be on the straight and narrow.
You had a pathway, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And people to fight, as your colleague said, you know, you can't just put us on the fence because we've offended. People make mistakes. We should be allowed another chance to change, and Exo Bike is making the way for any prisoners, anybody that's been released. Come and join us at Exo Bike.
Well, you're a good spokesman for it, Jason, to be fair to you, yeah.
I totally agree, and otherwise you're in a vicious cycle. I mean, there's no point, you can't always have the opportunity to do good if it's not there, and if no one's giving you a chance, which obviously, Steph, you've seen this. And are you trying to do more? You said you're doing bigger ventures as well as the bikes. You're thinking of other
absolutely.
ideas.
So, I mean, Jason touched on there. Inside, there's still not a lot of activity.
Yeah.
Great, we do it on the outside, but now we've put one in Pentonville Prison.
Great.
So we've done 3 courses. That's 15 guys in the last 3 months. We're putting one into High Down Prison, and we've got a partnership with Feltham Young Offenders. So guys can get involved, get out of their cells.
Yep.
The brand Exo Bikes is all about hope and energy and positivity. And so we'll take that into the prison. And you can feel it when you go in there. But it's a vacuum. There's not a lot of that in there. So people are drawn towards it, whether they want to be bike mechanics or not, doesn't really matter. It's like, do something positive. You do belong, as David said. Come and join this part of society.
Do you know what's really interesting about it, Steph, is that, and David, is that this clearly works, right?
Yeah.
OK, and you're now putting in prisons, but it's paid for by the charity. Surely investment in the prisons by the prison system to put it in themselves will ultimately save them money in the long run. You come up with a business plan that they should be following, David.
Absolutely. And remember, though, we're quite rightly celebrating Exo Bikes this morning, but already it's been made mention of Halfords. We could think of Greg's the Bakers. We could think of Timson's. You know, Timson's employs 10% of former offenders in their shops. And of course, James Timson is now the Minister for Prisons. So this idea that we could actually look upon people in prisons as a resource is one of the changes that we need to make in society more generally, isn't it?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, there is so much talent. I mean, look at Jason. He's a great salesman. You know, there are a lot of great salesmen in the prisons. They're just selling the wrong product.
Yeah.
So if you can just refocus them, but the skill
He's telling the truth.
Yeah.
I wasn't talking about you. That's between you and but there's so much potential in there. You wouldn't believe it. We've just got to get. The reason we do something visible like Exo Bikes is because we want small business, because we don't want a big bike business. We're a bloke business.
Yep.
We want it to be beautiful so that the customer can go, what a great guy he was.
Yeah.
And he's an ex-offender.
And Exo Barbers, which is one of your schemes. The best haircut I ever got was in jail in Wood Hill in Milton Keynes. And so that's another way of scaling this up, isn't it?
Yeah, rather than try and have loads of bike shops, we're going to try and impact lots of industries. So the next one's barbering, then we're going to do fashion.
Yeah.
We're doing food, and we're going to do fitness.
That's
over 5 years.
amazing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Such a great idea. How was the bike, Jason, by the way?
It's perfect.
Yeah?
Worked my magic.
Of course he did. We never doubted him for a second, did we, Craig?
You now just got to work on the guy who owns it because he never rides it. He needs a bit of
You can donate it to
Exo Bike.
Yeah,
We'll
love
take
that.
it with us. Yeah.
well done. Brilliant, brilliant scheme.
Such a great idea.
And delighted things are working out for you, Jason. David, as always, thank you so much.
Lovely.
Well done, guys.
Yeah,
Keep it going.
congrats.
Good stuff.